Good morning, everybody, and happy Saturday. My name is Cindy, and I am the owner-creator of Elevita Designs. Last week, we painted a truck, and today we're going to work on the insert for it. So if you happened to join me last week, you've seen that I painted this white truck. And I have my camera zoomed in really, really low so you can see exactly what I'm doing. But we're going to create the insert for this. Now, I am going to be doing it in probably 2 parts. Because I am very meticulous when I paint, so I do take my time. So, if you're seeing the word live in red up in the upper left-hand corner, you're actually catching this video live. If you would like to say hello, that would be wonderful. If you're not seeing live, you're catching this on replay, please type in hashtag replay to let me know you were here. If you have any questions or comments, please don't be afraid to, say them, ask them, and I'll try to address any questions that you have. I call this my Beary Sweet Honey Bear Truck Insert. And this is what we're going to work on. I'm going to work on definitely the bear part today and all the elements that go with it. I will be mixing paints today. It's not one of my favorite things to do. I am a Deco Art Americana paint girl. That's what I like to use. So, something I found is just there's not a lot of choices for browns. And I don't want something really, really dark. So I will be mixing my paint to accomplish what I'm after. What I'm going to start with today is actually the jar that this honey is in. And the reason why I do that is when I paint, I like to start with the furthest thing back. Now, granted, this is really the furthest thing back, the beehive. But I want to save that for another day, along with the tailgate and the license plates and all the lettering. And I actually have some cute little bees that will be placed strategically on this design. So, but I'm going to start with this. And the reason why I'm doing that is I will be shading with a color called Black Plum, which is very, very dark. And in case I happen to miss my lines for shading, because I am mixing paint, and you can never ever get the same color twice when you're mixing paint, that way I know I can get it covered and I don't have to worry about it. So let's get started. What I'm going to use for this jar is a color called Country Red. This is one of my favorite colors to use. So we're going to start painting that with Country Red. And like I said, I do like to use Deco Art Americana paints. Now, red is a little bit harder to cover up, so this is going to probably take a couple coats. There's certain colors that are just, they're difficult to cover, to get a good cover. This is made out of 1/8 inch Baltic birch plywood. I don't do MDF. I like to sand my pieces. I've always sanded my pieces. I like a smooth surface. I don't use any type of, I can't think of the word I want to say, that you put down for wood, sealer. I don't use any type of sealer. Now, normally, if I was painting a really big project with this Country Red, a big area, because red doesn't cover very well, I like to put down, I use foliage green. I like to put down a green first. Anything that I'm going to paint red over top of. And what that does is that actually helps coverage with the red. I've seen people use white. No, that's not something you should do. Green is really, really good. You wouldn't think it would be, but it is. It really does help with coverage. I don't know why there's certain colors that just don't cover well. Red happens to be one, white happens to be another. It's just, it doesn't cover very well. Good morning to whoever's here watching. Thank you for joining me. Now there'll be things that I'm going to be gluing on. Like I have honey dripping here. That'll be a glue on. This will be a glue on. And actually the label. Good morning. Thank you for joining me. Also the label for the jar. The muzzle and the nose. Those are all things that we'll be painting separately and we'll be gluing on separately. Good morning. Now I did come on last night and did a test painting of mixing the colors. Like I said, mixing colors is just not something I really like to do, but sometimes you just have to do that. And I know what color is kind of after, so I wanted to try and achieve that again. And I'll be showing you how I mix the colors here shortly. Also something I'll be doing on this jar is what I call a wash. Especially on the inside of this jar, the area is very, very small. So to shade and highlight, there's just not a whole lot of room to work with. So something I did on my Merry Christmas Truck insert, I have little package bows. And of course, you know, the bows, the inside of the bow is always a little bit darker. So what I did is I did a wash of a darker color, the shading color. And what that did is actually it darkens the area and changes the whole color, but doesn't make it really bold. So that's something I'm going to be doing for this particular area. I wanted to come on later in the day, but we've got a lot going on. So I thought I would come on earlier this morning. I have cooking I'm doing today. Gonna make a new dish and requires a lot of prep work. But and we want to watch ladies basketball. We watched Caitlin Clark the other day. Oh boy. She didn't get drafted to a very good team. And they're playing the same team that they played the other day. It's not good. But we're huge Caitlin Clark fans. Oh, we wish her well. Hopefully she does better today. She looked very uncomfortable, which is sad. And her teammates did not give her the ball, which wasn't right. So now, granted, you know, I am going to be gluing a separate piece of wood over top of where this honey is, but I'm still just being meticulous. My score lines are always significantly smaller when you're gluing a particular piece on. I like to do that. Good morning. That way you have a little room for air if the piece happens to move when you're gluing it and you don't catch it. Because the last thing you want to do is glue something on and not get it right and your score marks show. So I always like to try to make my score marks a little bit smaller, so it does allow room for error. Good morning. Woke up this morning, it was really, really foggy here. I was kind of surprised by that. It was kind of rainy yesterday. I think it's going to be rainy and gloomy again today. I've had a lot of rain so far this year. Kind of makes me wonder what our summer's going to be like. If you're joining me, I'm painting what I call the Beary Sweet Honey Bear Truck Insert to go with my white truck that I painted last week. This design is going to be really, really cute. It has an interchangeable license plates and tailgate, little bees that you can place throughout the design to bring an extra element and interest. It's just really, really cute. I decided I wanted to paint the jar a country red. I was kind of indecisive between the red or doing like a blue. But I just felt red would be a nicer color, especially because I'm going on a white truck. Actually, this red's not covering too bad, so I might get away with just one coat today, which will be nice. I do use 1/8 inch Baltic birch plywood, like I said. I don't do the whole MDF. I tried it. It's not for me. I felt that it was harder to float. Color, shading, highlighting on it. I didn't feel the surface was that smooth. I've always just painted on wood. I've been painting for well over 20 years and actually, excuse me, took a break and just recently started painting again and thought I'd try creating some designs. I've just now started creating SVG files for laser cutters, which is definitely more different than just regular files. There's a lot of things you gotta take into consideration when you're designing a file to work for a laser cutter. Now I will try and have this design up on my Etsy shop, hopefully over the weekend. The name of my Etsy shop is Elevita Designs. I have a limited amount of SVGs and I do offer some DIY wood kits for my designs. I'm not currently offering a license for people to create DIY wood kits. I probably will go that direction in the future, but right now I just prefer to do the DIY kits for my designs, right, for myself. But if I go ahead and decide to change my mind on that, I will definitely make an announcement on my Facebook page. I have a stray little hair that's sticking out. I'll make an announcement on my Facebook page and on my Etsy shop. And then put that license up there. But right now I'm just going to do the DIY wood kits myself. So how is everybody this Saturday? Has anybody got any special plans? Are you working on crafts yourself? Well, it looks like it's going to be another day of people not really having much to say. That's all right. Next week is graduation. Only to come to find out, that's the school that I graduated from. They've always had it on Sunday afternoon. For some reason, they decided to make it Friday night this year. I'm not understanding that choice. Especially having it on a holiday weekend. It's kind of a strange decision. When I asked my stepdaughter, who works for the school, why they chose to do that when it's always been on Sunday, she asked them the same thing, and the response was, well, other schools are doing it. Now, I do know a local school around here has always had their graduation on a Wednesday night. I've done that like that for years, which it's kind of an odd time, but they've been a holiday weekend. You know, a lot of people aren't working Friday. Usually Memorial Day is when campgrounds open and, you know, people are getting ready for their summer. I know we used to camp, and there's a campground locally. And they would come from Pennsylvania, West Virginia. And some people actually would come up here from Florida, and this would be where their summer home would be. 'Cause it's really hot in Florida in the summer. Ask me how I know. It was too hot. We lived there for 7-8 years, and I would never go back. It's not my cup of tea. Too many critters. Way too many critters now. Cost of living is very, very expensive. And you have to have your air on. I mean, I would run my air from March to November. So you can never leave your windows open to get fresh air in because it was just too darn humid. And my husband and I like to golf. And granted, we could golf all year round. But it was just too darn hot. No. It wasn't for me. We lived in the Newport Richey area, which is on the Gulf Coast. And it was nice. Wasn't too far from the ocean. Loved going to Clearwater Beach. Our big thing was we would go to Turpin Springs and go to the sponge docks. And Turpin Springs is full of Greeks, and oh my gosh, we would go to the restaurants, get Greek food. Mama's is where we would go. Their food was just phenomenal. Too much water. But all the shops were pretty much the same. They had all the same items, you know. We just went down there just to walk around and basically go to Mama's so we could get a gyro. The food was just so good. We would sit outside. It was just nice. And then they had, you know, fresh seafood down there. And a fresh seafood market. So we would always do that too. But and a little aquarium, which was nice. We never did take one of those boats to watch them dive for sponges. But yeah, that's one thing I miss about Florida. Nothing really else. A lot of bugs. And I'm not an alligator fan either. But now from my understanding is they're getting overrun with snakes. No, thank you. Well, a lot of people didn't realize, and I didn't realize it until unfortunately we had a misfortune, is they have poisonous toads down there. They're called cane toads. And somebody brought them in from Australia to kill bugs that would eat the crops down there. Well, unfortunately, these toads are poisonous, and if your pet gets them and bites into them, they secrete poison. Into the mouth of the pet, and if you don't seek medical attention promptly, your pet will die. I did have a dog bite into one of those within being there 2 weeks. Had no idea about that. We were able to get her to the emergency vet in time, and she was kept for a few days. But learned that the hard way. I mean, she made a full recovery. I never let they only come out at night, and they come out after rain. And so I never let my dogs out at night after that, unattended, never. Even though I had a fenced-in yard, I always watched them. I had 2 little Westies, and they're spunky little things. But I never left them unattended after that. And here's a little tidbit, which is kind of sad. Like I said, they secrete poison. Young kids actually lick these toads to get high. Ridiculous. It's crazy. All right, I'm going to do a little bit of highlighting. I like to use this color called Fiery Red. It's a neon color. It's very, very bright. So you want to be careful. But I always like to highlight first, and then I go back and shade. Because you want your shading, you know, when your highlighting meets the shading, you really want your shading to cover up the highlighting. So I usually highlight first. There might be a rare occasion that I don't, but I do. I'm just using a small angle brush. I don't have much paint on there. And I'm blending it back and forth. I'm just going on the top here, just to brighten this up a little bit. I like to use a paper palette. I get those from Hobby Lobby. I'm just going around the outer edge of that just to separate a little bit. Got a little bit too bright. I mean, I'm only using that much paint. I don't really want a wide float. And then I just blend back and forth with my palette. Now my water's already getting dirty from rinsing it, and I will take a break and rinse my water out numerous times. This is actually too much paint I put on, but key to a good float is having clean water. Having a good consistency mixture of water and paint. I don't sit here and try and do one whole stroke with my highlighting or shading. I kind of pat, and then if it's a little rough, I'll go back around to smooth it out. Hopefully you can see. I lowered my camera so you can see more of what I'm doing. But what that does is it kind of limits my working area. Q-tips, one of your best friends to use to wipe away the paint that gets in an area that it shouldn't be in. Let's see, I think I want a little bit wider highlighting area at the bottom. I'm actually running out of water. You can tell when you're running out of water because one, your paintbrush, the bristles on your paintbrush will start splitting. And then two, you'll find trying to move your brush, it kind of drags across the surface. So that tells you you need more water. Good morning. Thank you for stopping in. All right. What I'll do first is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to shade this, and then I'm going to go back and do my washing on the inside. So I'm just going to take a little bit of black plum. Now this is a very, very dark color. So you want to be really careful with this color. You want to make sure, you know, it's really watered down. You want to definitely blend it. You don't need a whole lot of paint. That's actually probably too much. But definitely want to blend it. I mean, here's the thing. If you happen to get too much paint, shading, you know, if it's darker than really what you wanted, I mean, it is fixable. And I will, if that happens to me, I can show you how to fix it. So don't panic. Really, anything's fixable. But I just rather, personally I rather build my shading and highlighting too in steps. So while it's drying, I'm not going to go back and, you know, do the other way because I'll take off the paint that I just did. What I'm going to do is go ahead and mix up my wash for the inside. What I did is just mixed a little bit of water and paint. And I actually probably need more water. That's a little bit darker than what I wanted. But I'm just trying to create a different color, just a darker color, but not as dark as what it would be if you were putting it on straight out of the bottle. And I might have to go over it again if it ends up not being dark enough. But I don't want it too dark. But see how that just darkens it up a little bit, and you know, it's the inside of the jar. It's casting a shadow, and that's kind of what I'm after. And the whole point of shading and highlighting is to add a different element to your painting. But also, too, you need to keep in mind you're painting on a flat, good morning, you're painting on a flat piece of wood. It's just one piece of wood. And the whole point of shading and highlighting is you want to create a visual illusion that you're creating layers on this flat piece of wood. So, you know, your shading and highlighting should be complementary. It shouldn't be bold. I see so many people make it bold, and that's not really what you should be doing. I'm just going to go back over this wash because I want it just a little bit darker. And I might even do a little shading behind where the honey will go. But see what that does is that just kind of changes the color. It gives the illusion of the inside of the jar. And I have such a small area above that jar that I think I'm going to take a script liner brush and just water down this paint and twist your brush into a point. And I'm just going to probably just paint across that. And I might have to do it a couple times because I don't have a whole lot of paint on there. Just to brighten that up. First time using this brush, it was a recommendation. I don't think it's a good recommendation. But see, just by me outlining that, kind of separates it a little bit. I don't know how I feel about these things. Also, too, you want to make sure when you're shading and floating, shading and highlighting, before you go back over it, you want to make sure, even when you're painting, that the area is dry. Because if not, you'll be taking off the paint. I want a little bit wider. That's actually a little bit darker than what I would have liked. But it's all right. All right. I like to use angle brushes if I'm going in a small area, because I like to tilt my brush. So I'm just trying to darken up right above where the honey would be. All right. Good enough. All right. We'll start getting started on painting this bear. So what I'm gonna do for painting this bear is I'm going to use antique white to paint inside the ears, the muzzle, the pads. That's what I'm going to use, is antique white. I won't paint this piece because I do have a separate piece that goes over it. And as you can see, the score lines are definitely smaller. I'm going to have to put a lot of paint because I didn't notice that little flaw on the wood. So I'll paint that too as I'm painting this. But I'm going to use antique white. When I go and paint around the pads of the foot, I'm going to be really, really careful. I do have score marks there for the stitching, but I don't want to get paint in there. This is a somewhat light color. It will darken up as it dries. I don't try and put on a thick coat from the get-go. I paint in several layers. I think if you put too much paint on from the start, you will see the lines in your wood on top of your wood, because it's too thick. I like to water down my paint somewhat so it goes on evenly and looks flat. There's nothing worse, I think, than having too much paint and it's too thick. It just doesn't look good on your project. And don't be afraid to, change brushes. Sometimes you can have too big of a brush for the area. I just felt like that brush was too big and I wasn't able to. Good morning. Get around the area. And you can see I put that on there really thick. A lot thicker than I normally would. But I'm hurrying up and smoothing it out so it's a lot smoother. And that's what happens when you use a smaller brush. I do need to go to either Hobby Lobby, Joann's, Michael's, and look at getting some newer brushes. I made the mistake of ordering online, and when I went to use them for the first time, it wasn't, I don't order brushes online because I like to look at the bristles. I like to look at how long the bristles are, how thick they are. I think that's important. So I would never buy brushes again online because you can't really tell by the picture. And I bought some brushes recently and I went to use one yesterday, an angle brush, and the bristles are just too short. And actually they were, I mean, it's a brand new brush. They were frayed. Now, like for the flat brushes, I do like a shorter bristle for putting on the paint, not for shading. I like longer bristles. I like a thicker brush because it holds more paint, holds more water. You can actually float a bigger area. So to the person who's watching, would you like to say hello? I guess not. That's too bad. Good morning. I'm going to put my paint heavy in the middle of these pads. And then kind of go with a lighter touch as I get towards the outside. And I just one in my crevice. And I kind of figured that would be kind of tough. I mean, to paint with a sponge, and you probably could. Probably what I'll do is these are actually score marks. I think I'm going to change them to engraving. Or I might just eliminate them altogether. What's your thoughts? You know, it's doing is portraying stitching. And this antique white is not much more of a different color than the wood. It's just a little bit darker. Not much. So I will be doing this in 2 parts today. I'm just going to do the bear and the elements. But about coming on tomorrow, doing the beehive, doing the tailgate and the license. I might only get part of this bear done today. I might not get it all done. Because I am a very meticulous painter. I can't, in good conscience, slop on paint while people are watching. I don't do it whether people is watching or not. I actually take my time and paint. I don't sell my finished pieces. I actually have them displayed in my home. I don't have tutorials for all my designs. I might eventually go back. I'm actually working on a really nice interchangeable design, but I won't release that until I get all the elements. And then too, I have to, unfortunately nowadays you have to protect yourself. So I like to register all my drawings with the Copyright Office. So I no longer release new designs without them being registered. I was able to get this one registered last week. That's why I'm painting it today. Otherwise, I would have painted one that I already have registered. One of the designs that are already listed on my Etsy shop. You have to protect yourself. Good morning. Thank you for stopping in. I'm painting my Beary Sweet Honey Bear Truck Insert. It's to go with the white truck that I painted last week, if you happen to watch that. Bees and bears are very popular right now. Interchangeable stuff is popular. And I'm a big bear fan. I used to collect Boyd's bears. I have a lot of teddy bears, a lot of resin bears. Just something about a teddy bear's face. It's just, I love it. Just, I don't know. I don't really collect much of anything. I always tell people before I started collecting, and I haven't bought a Boyd's bear in a long time. I used to tell people, though, before I bought that, the only thing I ever collected was dust. Yeah, I have a sick sense of humor. Yeah, I'm not a whole collectible type of person, but I did start collecting those Boyd's bears. I haven't bought one probably in, 5-10 years. It's been a long time. I don't have my teddy bears displayed anymore like I used to. I have them put away. The the plush version of the teddy bears. Let me rephrase that. I do have the Boyd's resin bears displayed a lot. But I bought more plush than I did resin. I have one over my score mark. I'll have to clean that out. This is a good tool for cleaning out score marks. You can just buy this at Dollar Tree. Just go lightly though when you're trying to dig them out. Because I find if you press too hard, sometimes the material can be soft and you can actually chip it. So just go, be gentle. Yeah, school's almost out in this area. We got another week, maybe 2 weeks. School year went fast. 2 grandchildren graduating this year. Like I said, it's on a Friday. What's sad, well, here's what's not sad. Yeah, it is. The graduation is on my stepdaughter's birthday, and in return, her daughter's birthday's that day, and she's turning 21, and she will be spending her 21st birthday, part of it, watching her sister graduate. And then the grandson, who's graduating, it's his birthday. 3 birthdays on May 24th. What's the chances of that? And then what's the chances of a mother giving birth on their birthday, especially to their firstborn? I mean, that's just, that's amazing. I just find that amazing. You will see me tap off over here because sometimes I have a tendency to get too much water on my brush. When you have a brush that doesn't have long bristles and you dip in, you will get like a little pile of water that will travel down your ferrule and get on your surface. You don't want that. All right, I think I'm done with those. I might go over them again. Go ahead and paint these. I'm going to use a makeup sponge. This is actually an old makeup sponge, but all I have to do in order to use it is just cut off the old with a pair of scissors, get a surface, throw that away, good to go. Yeah, it might take a couple coats on that with that bad spot. You want to go lightly because you don't want getting paint over the edges. If you do, you can wipe them off with a wet wipe. Be careful going next to the mouth because you don't want to get paint in your engraved areas. I'm just tapping lightly. What I have is, I have this actually on a sticky board. They call a sticky board. And you'll see a lot of people that paint use these. What it does is, one, it helps hold it down. And 2, it keeps me from getting paint all over my tablecloth. But a lot of people use painter's tape. And you just take the painter's tape and you turn it upside down, wrap it around, take this, turn it the other way. This isn't painter's tape. This is actually, I used to do decals, vinyl decals. So I have a lot of transfer tape. So instead of buying painter's tape, I'm just using this. It's not as sticky, I don't think, as painter's tape, but it does the trick. So I think I will do one more coat. Just one more. I think you need to have good coverage when you paint. Your areas shouldn't be blotchy. That just looked a little bit too blotchy for me. So I'm just going to go back over it. I'm not going to sit here and fuss a whole lot. And I'll probably dry brush a little bit of highlighting, a lighter color in the middle of these pads. To try and float highlighting on the outer edge, especially with these score marks for the stitching. It just didn't look right, so I'm not going to do that. I feel that just dry brushing a little bit of highlighting is the way to go. And if I don't like it, I'll just go back over it with paint. Like I said, everything is fixable. And I just decided to go back over this with a brush, only because that little mark is dark. And the only way I'm going to get really good coverage over that is to use a brush. And I'm putting my paint on pretty thick, but I'm putting it on thick in the middle and then thinning it out as I get to the edge. Because I really don't want paint going over the edge, but if it does, it's no big deal. It's fixable. This is my second time doing a live video. I don't know how long I'll be doing them for. I do, like watching people paint. I'm into painting. But I think I might, moving forward, is when I do decide to do videos, I won't go live. I think what I'll do is just paint them, make it private, and then I'll post it to go live after it's done. All right. I did buy some other brushes, and I'm kind of afraid to use them. These kind of brushes, they're pretty stiff. I don't think, though, that I'll use those type of brushes today, because I haven't tried them. I don't even know how they would react. But I am going to do a little dry brushing in the center of those pads. I'm going to use buttermilk. The highlighting color for Antique White is buttermilk. I'm only going to do the dry brushing on the pads. So I like these type of brushes that are kind of curved, on the bottom. I don't know, I just feel that they go on nicer. That's just my opinion. But what you want to do is load up your brush. I mean, that's more than enough paint. Okay. Then you want to come over to a napkin, paper towel. And you just go around in circles. And the object is to take off the paint that you just put on, which is silly, but that's what you do. And then you come to your surface and you just lightly rub. And I got a little mark there. And I'm just going to lightly go in a circle. And build up that color. Just to highlight that, just to lighten it up a little bit in the middle. And I don't even know if I like that, to be honest with you. I don't think I do. I'm not one to do something like that. I don't think I like that. But here's the deal. I can go over it. I'm going to extend out that highlight, so I'm going to go around a bit more. And if I don't like it, I'm going over it. My idea of highlighting isn't dry brushing. And I might have gotten too much paint on there. Because as you can see, I don't have a bold circle on this one. And that's what happens if you don't take off your paint good enough. Or you press too hard. Now that's a little bit better. But I don't know if you can see that that's like really, really bold. And that's not what I'm after. So that'll be getting covered up. Like I said, everything's fixable. Okay. Yeah, that's not too bad. It's light. It's barely, you can barely see it. That was just too much. So when I go back, I'm definitely gonna have to take off more paint. I'm gonna go ahead and highlight around the ears. And that will fade a little bit. And if it doesn't, then I can go back with the base color and mute it a little bit. This is another new brush that I bought. I don't think I like it either. Yeah, I don't think I like this brush either. Oh, that's too bad. Yeah, I don't like how the... I'm going to stay away from that brand. I won't say who it is. I've used them before. I'm going to stay away from that brand. So, I'm going to cover this up because I don't... They're really starting to make garbage brushes, and that's too bad. All right, let's try this pad again. That's, I don't know. Good enough. Good enough. And I won't rinse out my brush yet, just in case I need to use it. I'm gonna go ahead and highlight around this muzzle. With the buttermilk. This buttermilk is really, really thick today. Believe it or not, weather plays a big part in how your paint reacts. I mean, that's what I was after. It's just something faint, not that bold line that I was getting on the ears. And here's the thing, I can go back and darken that if I want. This might be too big of a brush. For the ears. So, try a smaller brush. That's better. I added a lot more water than I probably should have, but water will help move the paint. There we go. All right. Now for the fun part. This is where it's going to get fun. I think that's probably good enough for now. We're going to mix paint. And like I said, I am not a fan of mixing paint. Not at all. Not even close. But when you don't have the colors that you would like, sometimes you don't have a choice. So, with that being said, I'm going to mix more than what I need. More than what I need because, one, my paint's drying really, really quick today. I gotta make sure I have enough to cover this entire bear. So, and then I know before I go back and try and highlight or shade, I'm gonna have to clean my water. So I'll have to take a break here. But I'm gonna put cocoa, and I'm gonna put a lot. Like I said, I know I'm gonna do way more than what I need. But I'd rather have too much than not enough. So I'm kind of going half and half with the cocoa and the antique white. More probably antique white. And I'm just using a cruddy brush. And I'm just mixing it. And you want to make sure you get a good mix of paint. You don't want it have it looking marbly there like that is. You want to get it really, all these colors blended and mixed really, really well. Because if you happen to dip your paintbrush into one of those areas that is not mixed well and you put it on your surface, you're going to see there's a different change in color. So make sure you mix it really, really well. Probably a little bit darker than what I really wanted, but I'm going to go with it. And I'm going to paint pretty fast because this is a custom color. I got a ceiling fan going that is moving air around. That's going to dry up my paint. It's kind of humid today. I paint upstairs and it's always warmer upstairs than it is throughout the rest of the house. And I am putting the paint on a little bit thicker than what I normally would. I'm trying to get a really good coat from the get-go. But even though I'm putting the paint on thicker, I am moving it around to flatten it out, to create a smoother surface. It probably didn't make sense, but I mean, still take your time. Be careful going around these areas. Don't try and get, paint over areas you already painted on. Take your time. I mean, I am hurrying, but I'm not going to paint sloppy. actually prefer a brush that's flat for base coating. I prefer shorter bristles. This isn't too bad. You will see me rinse my brush off and tap it off numerous times. You gotta have some type of water on your brush. You don't need a whole lot, but you gotta have some. It makes the paint go on smoother. Whoa, that's too much paint. Ooh. Whoa. Now, I don't know if you could tell, but boy, oh boy, oh boy, I put a glove on. So I did go back and take some off and put it on my napkin, but I'm taking that glove now and I'm moving it around very quickly so I don't have a hump in my surface. Maybe even that's too much paint. But I'm moving it around, so, and I'm doing it quickly. But something you'll find with me is I'll put more paint on an area like in the center here. I don't know what that was. But as I get closer to an edge, like in here, I'll either take a smaller brush, which is what I'm going to do. So I'm not, accidentally painting somewhere I don't want to. Or I'll put my thickness of my paint in the middle area here and then just work the paint out to the edges so it's thinner. I was really hoping my friend Donna would be on today watching. Yeah, she told me the other day she was going to watch. She's learning how to paint. Trying to learn how to paint. And she likes the way I paint. She said she wasn't too busy. She was going to be on. But I believe she's in another time zone. I think she's an hour behind where I am. So I might be on a little bit too early for her. But hey, if she joins me, that's wonderful. If not, she can always catch a replay. Now, I don't know if you can tell this in the camera, because honestly, the camera is not true. It doesn't give a true visual. But this brown paint is somewhat blotchy. Like right in here, I don't know if you can tell. So, I don't know what that is. And I think too, when you're using a flat brush to base coat, you want to be careful going around the edges, because when you press down on your brush, see how that spreads out my bristles? You want to be careful. You want a light touch. I do. Well, let's put it this way. Let me rephrase that. I like to use a light touch because I don't want that paint going somewhere I don't want it to be. And if you press hard, your bristles spread out and get in places that you really don't want. Honestly, that brown's a little bit lighter than what I wanted, but I'm not gonna worry about it. I was kind of hoping for a little bit darker, especially because it's going on a white truck, but I might have put too much antique white in this time. But sometimes paint it dries darker, so it might end up drying the way I really want it. It's kind of hard to get a true color right now because the paint is blotching areas. It's not a solid coverage. Because my goal was to go back and shade with cocoa, which I did use cocoa to make this color. I don't care that I'm getting it on that muzzle part of the bear. My muzzle is actually bigger than the area. So, but I'd rather make sure I have paint down there. This paint is starting to thicken a lot faster than what I would like. I'm in trouble here. It's not good. It's way thickened. It's thickening. Not good. So I gotta speed up the process here. And that's what happens when you mix paint. That's what I hate to do it. But I didn't want a dark brown. I don't like dark brown teddy bears. I don't. I like a white teddy bear. I like a beige teddy bear or a cream teddy bear. But I don't like dark brown. And hopefully the cocoa won't be too dark for shading. That would be disappointing. I mean, something I could do, and I might, is take some of this paint and put it aside and mix another color, add more cocoa to it, to create a darker color. So I can shade, and it'll be in the same hue as this. It'll just be a little bit darker. So that might be something I do. I don't know yet. I'm winging it. You gotta wing it when you're mixing colors. And I'm not a wing it kind of girl. I'm pretty well organized. When I come on live, I come on live. I don't sit there and stare at myself and talk to myself. And I have my paints prepared. I have my brushes. I have my glue. I hate watching someone that is not properly prepared. I'm there to watch you paint, so that's what I want to see is you paint. So I made the decision that when I finally go live, oops, you can't see me. Sorry. Yeah, I made the decision when I go live to have everything that I need to paint my project available. So you folks aren't having to sit there and watch me get my paint and my brushes and post in this group, that group, on my page, talking, yada, yada, yada. Stupid. I have to look to see if there's the way that you can. Look what that was. I've got like something dark in my paint. I would love to be able to contact Facebook support. They don't have that anymore. You know what's sad is, all these platforms just got so big that when they first come onto the scene, they provided really good customer support. But then as they grew, customer support was no longer a priority for them, which is sad. These bigger companies, especially social media, we need to go back to putting customer support, making it a priority. would be nice. Everything's automated. Robots, whatever you want to call it. It would be really nice if they would actually get some customer support. We need to go back to that. I mean, think about it, back in the day when you called a business, somebody answered the phone. How often do you call businesses nowadays that the first thing you hear is actually a person saying hello? You know, everything's computerized. I think customer service is one by the wayside. On the other hand, I pride myself in customer service. And if you look at my reviews on Etsy, they talk about customer service, how good customer service I give, and how prompt I am. And I am usually very prompt with my responses. You know, if a message comes through while I'm at work, I can't respond to that. I have to wait for a break. But I will spend my break checking my messages and responding and letting you know that I am on break. I'm at work, but I will look into whatever it is that you need me to look into when I get home. And I will do that. It'll be the first thing I do when I walk through the door. It's helping resolve any issues you may have or addressing any concerns you may have. I think that's important. And that's what's going to set you apart from everyone else. And I'm not caring if I go over these score marks on the muzzle. Because like I said, that piece is going to glue on there. I am being careful around the eyes. This paint is really starting to dry and drying thick. It's almost like a goo. So I really want to get a decent coverage and get rid of this blotchiness. Because here's the thing, if I at least get paint on every piece of this bear and this paint dries, I can always remix a new color, a new batch. Let me put it that way. Remix a new batch and it won't be the same. It just won't be. To try and get that the same twice. But it'll be close. Sad thing is you just have to go back and paint the whole darn thing. At least I will, because I just can't throw two different colors on there and think it's okay. And I need to clean out that score mark on the neck. And I will. Well, thank you to the person that's been watching me here for the last hour and here ever since I started. You should let me know who you are, so if you're interested in one of my designs, I would love to send you a coupon code. Give you a percentage off on your purchase. I'm getting something black. know what's going on. I'm getting something black in my paint. And it's coming from the surface. Very bizarre. And I might be accidentally, when I'm going over these edges, my tip of my brush is getting into the char. Because you got to remember, you know, laser cutters, they're burning, see? And I went over and I'll clean it up when I'm done. But, you know, that's char. So it's burn marks. And that's kind of, I call it soot. So it's somehow getting my bristles, and then when I'm painting, it's coming out. Maybe something I'll do moving forward is maybe I will take a wet wipe or something and go around all my edges. Good morning. Thank you for joining. To prevent that, I mean, I sand my wood. I always sand my surface. It's just habit. So maybe that's something else I'll think about doing. That's one thing I don't like about the laser cutters is, you know, it does burn the edges. And depending on how high and how much power you use and how slow you go, it can really leave a dark mark. Yes, I will definitely go back around my edges, clean them up. Another thing you can do around your edges is a lot of people use magic markers. That's something else you can do. Oh, that's a crappy brush. All right, we're getting there. We are getting there. I was going to set a timer for 2 hours because I didn't want to go more than 2 hours. I forgot to do that. Because the last time I was on it, I was almost on for 3 hours. Which is a long time. But here's the thing, I mean, if you're going to sit here and watch me live the entire time, you're going to sit here for 3 hours and watch me live. But if you're catching a replay, and that's usually how I watch videos on Facebook, I can pause, rewind, fast forward, or come back, start watching it, and then come back and finish watching it. So, yeah, that's an option you have. I personally, I'd rather watch a Facebook Live after it's all said and done. Unless it's something I really, really, really want to see, I will watch it live. Because if I feel I might have questions or something I would like to ask. While it's live. Because not everybody who does these videos will go back and check for comments or questions. Oh, you're not able to see. Sorry. I have a tendency, I pull my pieces towards me. Whether in base coating or shading. Habit. I like to be up close and personal with the surface. And I think maybe moving forward, I will put my camera up a little bit so my area is a little bit bigger. Well, it's getting there. Still got to do a couple more coats. I think these ears are blotchy. And so you can't really see that in the camera, but trust me, in person, they are. Something else too, sometimes the colors have a tendency to look different. What I see and what you see sometimes is two different things. So if you're thinking to yourself, why does this girl keep going over the same spot over and over and over again when it's painted? It's got paint on it. It doesn't here in front of me. It's blotchy. And you guys just can't see it. Well, some people would probably not go over it, but I'm not one of those some people. I believe in having a good coverage. I make sure I have a good coverage on my paint, on my surfaces. Blotchy is out. So if that means I have to put 5 coats of paint on to get it to look exactly the way I want, that's what I'll do. That's why I can't sell my pieces, my finished pieces, because I put too much time and care into what I'm doing. But I would never make any money. But if I do start to sell my finished pieces because I'm accumulating too many, whoever chooses to buy them, they're going to get a really nice painted piece. I've always been meticulous in everything I do. Even designing, I'm very, very meticulous. I know what I'm after. I know what I want. I get the idea in my head. I know how the finished product or how I want it to look. And I'm very meticulous. I'm not OCD in any way. But when it comes to my arts and crafts and drawing and painting, whenever that didn't want to. Oh well. I'm just really fussy. Now see, I don't know if I would have used MDF if it would have went on better. Kind of felt like, you know, MDF, all it is sawdust as far as I'm concerned. With glue. Little particles. I mean, well, MDF's not for me. And I would think, you know, I'd be putting on more coats. I mean, you definitely have to use a brush. I mean, I guess you could have probably maybe used a makeup brush. I don't know. You'd have to do a small one. Not everything can be painted with a makeup brush. Or sponge. I don't know why I call it brush. I don't use those Posco pens all that much. I don't do that. I'm an old-fashioned brush girl. That's how I learned how to paint, was with a brush. And that's how I'm going to paint. I mean, I will use sponges from time to time. I think I went over that. Yes, certainly did. Certainly went over my area. And just take, you know, put some water on your Q-tip and just rub lightly. You don't want to rub too hard, because you can rub the paint off. So keep that in mind if you're using a Q-tip. Be gentle. I just missed it there too. Just enough. Yeah, I always have a container of Q-tips sitting out. And my basin of water has my rinse water that I clean the paint off. And then I have clean water that I soak my brushes in. And that way I can, you know, put my Q-tip in if I happen to accidentally get paint where I don't want it. Too much water. And what happens is when you're dipping your brush in to clean it off or wet it, especially when you have short nozzles, you're getting water up in that ferrule. And then it kind of makes its way down your paintbrush onto your surface. I mean, yeah, you gotta have some water, but that was too much water. Well, I think I'm about done with the brown of the bear. Just little touch-ups here and there that I see. And I will be taking a break. Changing my water. Because you have to have clean water to float shading and highlighting. It is a must. It's a must-have. My paint, my water's been pretty dirty. Oh, whoa. And I just don't do that. See how easily that took that off? Hello, thank you for joining. We're almost finished base coating this bear. And like I was just saying, I'll have to be taking a break here shortly to change my water because we're going to get ready to float highlighting and shading on the bear. And it's really important to have clean water. But if you like to stick around, wonderful. I guess not. Yeah, this side needs just a little bit more. It's still a little blotchy. And I think the reason why this side was so blotchy is I do know my paint was a little bit watered down compared to the other side. It actually still is a little bit more watered down than what I would like. Alexa, what time is it?
Good morning, Cindy. It's 11:15 a.m.
11:15 a.m. Like I said, I'm not sure how long I've been on here. to set that timer. Okay. All right. I'm going to call that good as far as base coating goes. I'm going to change my water, folks. So therefore, I'm going to take a little bit of break. Change my water. I'll be back. We'll do a little shading. We'll do a little highlighting. And we'll get this bear finished up. So, if you want to stick around, great. I'll see you in a few. Okay, I'm back. And thank you to the people that decided to stick and stay. Alexa, set a timer for 1 hour.
1 hour, starting now. By the way, the artist Motley Crue released new music. Would you like to hear it?
Not today.
Sorry, I don't know that one.
I'm sure you don't. All right. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take some of this paint that is really drying. I don't need a whole lot. I'm going to push it to the side here. I'm going to add a little bit more cocoa just to make it a little bit darker. Not a whole lot. I need a little bit darker than that. Just a little bit. And this is what I'm going to try and use for my shading color. It's not that much more different. But I am going to highlight first. So I probably should have waited on that. All right, I'm going to highlight with antique white. But I'm only going to be on here 1 more hour, whether I get done or not. And I can finish this up tomorrow or next week. I have a crazy work schedule that limits my time. So, got my water cleaned. Like I said, clean water is important when floating. Because I'm using a bigger brush, I'm only going to do the outside edges right now. Then I'll come back once that's dry and do the other side. Because if I don't do that, I'm going to be taking off the paint I just put on. You always want to try and float with the biggest brush possible, because you'll get a better shading and highlighting with that. It's wider. The chances of you getting a really solid line, it lessens that chance. So I always try and float my shading with a big brush. I'm running out of paint. I'm running out of water. That's why it's starting to drag brushes. And I don't want my highlighting and shading to be real bold. Like I said, it's supposed to be complementary to the area. It's not supposed to be like just stick out. I do know that I want my highlighting to be a little bit brighter on the inside of the arm. Only because it's going to be going next to the shading. So that's probably too bright for me, but that definitely is a lot brighter than what I liked. So I'm just going to take this and kind of blend it out a little bit to mute it. So there's always ways to fix things if you get a brighter result more than what you wanted. And as you can see, this highlighting is fading somewhat, and that's okay. Because if I want more, I'll go back and build it up. And sometimes you can blend your paint too much. Like right there, I blended it too much that I know if I go back, because I want to go and do my face again, I'd probably run out of paint. I'm trying to keep my brush as flat as I possibly can. You start to run out of paint and water. See how I'm getting that bold line? That's not really what I want. So just hurry up and go back and get some more paint and water. And just continue on. Sometimes you have to move kind of faster than what you'd like, but see, I'm already out of paint and water. I think the key to a good floating shading and highlighting brush is lots of bristles. Really thick bristles. Because what that does is it holds water longer and holds more paint. And you're able to get bigger areas, more coverage. So I'm just going to go at the top of these feet just to bring up a little bit of lightness. You will find that I will use my finger to blend. a lot just by tapping. All right. And also too, you just want a light touch as well. I'm not pressing really, really hard. I mean, I'm barely touching the surface. I'm kind of out of paint and water with that. I'm kind of getting a bold line, which is not really what I was after, but I'll just go and tap this. This is a mop brush. Not going around the whole entire ear this time around. Just trying to build up a little lightness at the center. And I might even just add a little bit more lightness. I'll probably go over it with a very watered down buttermilk. And there's nothing wrong with using a couple colors to float shading and highlighting with. People do it all the time. And you'll see me do that. And I'm trying to extend this out a little bit. That's called walking the float. And I think I want a little bit more highlight at the top of the head. Just a little bit. And I might go back up and lighten it with some buttermilk. I'm just going to kind of start like right past the ear. And only bring it over to the other side. Right past the ear. And that's good enough. All right. Let's try and shade. And hopefully this color is dark enough. If not, well, then we'll have to figure out another thing. And I'm going to really just blend it really, really good. Because I'm unsure really what this color is going to be. Let's just start with the neck. So it's not too bad. Hello, thank you for joining. I don't know how I feel about that color. I don't know. So, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to go around this honey dipper, because you definitely want shading around that just a little bit. I don't have too much paint on my brush. You see where I just painted that, did that shading, it basically kind of faded already. So I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm not going to sit here and keep going over stuff. I'm not. So I'm just going to get straight cocoa. Straight cocoa. And my water's already dirty again. I'll see that I could use more paint and too much water. You know, it takes practice to find a happy medium as far as a good combination of water and paint for floating. Even though I've been doing this a long time, some days are worse than others. I do struggle. It just takes practice. And some days you'll paint and float shading and highlighting like a champ and think you've got it down pat. And you'll come back the next day and you can't do it no matter what. Don't get discouraged. It happens to everybody. Sometimes it's hard to be consistent. I mean, I play golf. And the key to being a good golfer is consistency. Sometimes it's hard to be consistent hitting that ball. The same. Hello, thank you for joining. Having the same swing. Every time you golf, it's tough. That's where that muscle memory comes in that they talk about. But it's tough. So, you know, don't be discouraged if one day you're floating and shading like a champ and the next day it's just not working out for you. I think humidity plays a big part in how your paint reacts. You know, my paint is starting to dry really, really quick, getting gummy, and the reason being is I have a ceiling fan going on right now because I paint upstairs, and upstairs it's really hot. And so my paint seems to dry a lot faster. Yeah, I think shading with cocoa is a good choice instead of trying to darken that mix that I had. Like I said, I like to build up my highlighting and shading. I don't put it on dark. I try not to. Sometimes I can have a heavy hand. I don't like to put it on dark from the get-go. And you want to be careful about getting too much water because you'll get watermarks. Grab yourself a mop brush and mop it up. And that's not a good brush to really mopping with. Things sheds worse than my cats. And as you can see, what's going on too, and I don't know if you can really tell this on the camera, but by shading with cocoa, it's bringing in another color brown, like a golden brown. All right. Something I'm going to do is I want to shade around the muzzle. But like I said, I know my score marks are smaller. Now I'm going to bring this down because I want this muzzle kind of going down a little bit over the head. But I'm going to, I don't want like if you don't get the line correct, you could have a harsh line where you don't want it. So I'm using this pen, so it's a chalk pencil. And I'm just doing a line so I kind of know where to shade. See, it's out of chalk. See how much bigger that is than my score line? So I know that when I go to shade, if I start it within that chalk line that I just did, and I'm going to use a bigger brush, it'll be wide enough. I won't have that harsh line. There's nothing worse, in my opinion, than a harsh line. And I'm just going to start here at the top. And as you can see, as soon as water hits that, it's wiping away that line I just did. And the reason being is because it's chalk. So it kind of erases it. But also something else it's doing is I'm getting that little shading line going. So now when I go to darken it back up, I know exactly where I need to be. Hopefully that makes sense. And I definitely will darken that up. But you always want to wait till your paint dries, because you'll be taking off whatever it is that you just did. And I don't care if it's going to be a perfect shape of the muzzle. I'm just trying to get a darker color down. Just a different color. Alexa, how much time is left on my timer?
You have 35 minutes left on your 1 hour timer.
Well, that went fast, didn't it? I don't think that I'm going to be getting as much done as what I would have liked. But you never know, I might come back on later after I make my dinner. Or I might wait till tomorrow. Or I might wait till next week. But I think it's starting to look pretty nice. Now see, I need to shade it on the inside, on the other side basically, and it will be the inside of the bear's arms. So what it does is that, you know, I'm trying to create that illusion that I talked about because this is all one flat piece. I want to bring the arms forward while pushing the belly backwards. So that's the whole purpose of shading and highlighting. Is to create that illusion. It's an optical illusion of layers. Let's see how this shading looks with this muzzle. I think I want it a little bit darker, just a little bit. Just a titch. Definitely more so up on its face. And I'm kind of extending it out, making my float wider. So I'm doing what they call walking the float. And I think I'm about done shading here. I will go one more time inside the belly. I am done. I do want to put just a little bit brighter highlighting. Like right in here of the feet and the top of the ears, which I'll use buttermilk. I mean, just a little bit. but I don't want it to be real harsh. So I'm going to blend it really good. So, and just calm it down a little bit. But it just brightens them up a little bit. I might need to go over this side a little bit more. And I'm just barely touching the surface. That's another thing with floating. A very light touch. I mean, a very light touch is key. No, I was going to put some highlighting there, but I won't. All right. This is the... What I'm about to do is going to be either work or it's going to be an epic fail. We will see. I think it's an epic fail. I don't know if I like that or not. I don't know if I like that. Oh well. I don't know if I like that. So guess what? I still have some of this crappy paint. So I'll just go over it. And it lightens it a little bit. Calms it down. Oh well. Sometimes what you think is a good idea, not. So, let's see if I can either fix it or really mess it up. And if I'm not in the camera, I apologize. But I need a flat surface, and I need this area to be near me. Pull it close to me. All right. All right, I think That's really good enough. Like I said, a little bit more buttermilk on this one here, because the other side's just a titch brighter. I watch that be too much brighter than the other side. I'm very fussy. I know what I want. I know how I want it to look. I take the extra time. So if it's watching, you folks are watching and it's driving you crazy, I'm sorry, but that's just the type of painter I am. Excuse me. All right, I know I'm going to do this an antique white. So since I have antique white out here, I'm going to just go ahead and paint it. Well, went over my line. Rushing. Alexa, how much time is left on my timer?
You have 23 minutes left on your 1 hour timer.
23 minutes. Well, folks, I will be wrapping this up very shortly, no matter where I am on this. I actually was on a lot longer than what I really wanted to be. So, you'll just have to tune in to next time. If you're not following my page, hit follow. If you don't like my page yet, hit like. Share with your friends. Share it in some groups. That would be nice. Thank you. I want to thank the 2 people that's been watching me pretty much the entire time. It's very nice of you. Maybe in the future you'll feel a little more comfortable and want to say hello. There's a little hair or something. It's kind of sticking in that engraving area. I mean, if you like my designs and are interested in purchasing some, I would love to know who you are, because I'd love to give you a coupon code for sitting here for close to 3 hours watching me. That means a lot. Thank you. And if you're new to the painting world and are here to learn how to do a couple things, I hope I taught you something. I was really hoping I'd get further than this, but it didn't happen. Oh well. I love painting, but I also love doing a good job. I won't slap this paint on. You won't ever see me doing that, and just, I might paint fast from time to time, but I'm not one to slap paint on. That's not who I am. All right, let that dry. I'm going to go back and highlight it. Believe it or not, the shading color for Antique White is cocoa. So, I'm going to go ahead and shade her on that. I probably should have painted that first. That would have been the smart thing to do. But we all know that I'm not too smart from time to time. I am going to shade around that honey dipper, or whatever you call it. Just a little bit more. Just because I want a little bit more darkness. And to put a darker shading color, like milk chocolate, something darker, would be too much. So, I'm just going to go back and build a little bit darker. And then I'm going to put some highlighting. I'm going to use a little bit of this buttermilk and do just a little bit of highlighting where the sun hits. I don't shade and highlight where the sun hits, and I definitely don't highlight where the sun hits. It's a nice theory, but no. Like I said, the purpose of highlighting and shading is to create an optical illusion. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. I got paint where I didn't want to. Darn. Let's see. I can fix this. All right. Everything is fixable. I'm going to try, and this is going to be tough, just to float a little highlighting at the very top of this stick. I kind of went over my line, but it's all right. Okay. That's just going to have to do. Yes, I did get in my grooves, but I will dig them out. I think I'm done with the old honey dripper. Alexa, how much time is left on my timer?
You have 14 minutes left on your 1 hour timer.
Thank you. I mean, this is what we're looking at so far. Now, I'm undecided about the honey color. Honey brown, and then the highlighting color for honey brown is marigold. And so I thought about mixing again, honey brown and marigold. But then also too, and I'm going to paint the beehive this color. I thought about camel. So I'll tell you what I'm going to do. Is I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to put a little camel out. Okay. I'm going to paint this honey with camel. And I'm going to see if I like it. If I don't, then I'll rethink how I want to do this. I mean, because if you think about it, honey's like, it's a golden. But marigold is too dark, too yellowy. See, I think this might not be a good color, I don't know. And I know the highlighting color for camel, if I'm not mistaken, is buttermilk. And I need a more yellow in there, I really do. I need more of a yellow cast. Now I do have a color called, what is it, antique gold or something like that. That might be a good color. Or antique ochre. I don't know. So I don't know if that's going to have enough yellow cast to it. Maybe yellow ochre. See, I was very undecided about this. Antique gold, I mean, yeah. Okay, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. Doesn't hurt to build paint. So I'm going to start out light. I'm going to go with yellow ochre first and just see. I didn't shake it up enough. And I don't know what the highlighting shading color would be for yellow ochre. I'd have to, I don't know. I don't think I like that at all. Yeah, I don't think I like that. That's not what I was after at all, but we'll go with it. Yeah, no. That doesn't look like honey. That looks like the inside of a flower. No, that's terrible. That wouldn't look nice at all. And I'm getting a fuzzy somewhere. I don't like that. I'll let it dry, but yeah. Mm-mm. No. But hey, it might look nice on top of the stuff. I don't know. I don't think so. Alright, so that was yellow ochre. And I gotta see what other yellow colors I've got. Yeah, no. Now that, believe it or not, this antique gold looks like it could be the winner. Yeah, see, that's, no. No. That doesn't look like honey. That looks like garbage. I have to entertain myself. Because none of you folks will talk to me. Oh well. Yeah, this is better. This is better. Don't you think? Antique gold. That's a better color. Now I need to go over to my computer and go to Deco Art and see what the shading and highlighting color is for this. Something tells me buttermilk. But I could be wrong. Wow. Raw sienna. Highlighting color marigold. Interesting. And I have marigold. Interesting. Well, what I will tell you, the only thing I'm going to do with that marigold is I put dry brush it on. Okay, so here's the antique gold. Okay, so that's the base color. This is the highlighting color. This is marigold. It's a lot brighter. If you want my opinion, too bright. So the only way I'm going to do that is if I dry brush it. But I think that's a better color. What do you guys think? That looks better. I mean, it's still a little yellowy. I know. I might just... So that's what we're looking at. Part of me says, you know what? Dry brush with a little honey brown. That's all I'm saying. And I just might save that for later on. I just might save that for later on. Yeah. But since I still have a little bit of time left, Alexa, how much time is left on my timer?
You have 4 minutes and 40 seconds left on your 1 hour timer.
4 minutes and 40 seconds left. I'm going to go ahead and paint the nose and the opening to the beehive black. And then I'll come back and paint the eyes. Tomorrow or another day. Since I have the black out, I have just a little bit of time. I might go over a little bit, just a little. I'll go ahead and paint the eyes. Let's get the black on. I kind of, when I paint my eyes, I just put paint on the surface. I take my brush and I pat it out towards the edge. I don't sit there and try and stroke my paint, because if you end up having an oops moment, you went over your line. And it's tough to cover up black paint. So I rather just put a bunch of paint on the middle of the eye and push it out. That's what works for me. I mean, liner brushes are nice, but if you have one that has a wild hair, that it's outside your surface, you know, and you end up with black paint where you don't really want it. So I just kind of prefer to do it this way. It's what works for me. I mean, you can still have an oops moment here and push out too far, but that's what works for me. So that's this week's tip. Last week's was the glue, which I'll show you that tip again when it comes time to gluing. But yeah, I just put tons of paint and I just push my brush out slowly. Just working the paint out there to the edge. It might take a little bit longer, but I'm not having an oops moment. Alexa, stop. So I am going to go over my hour, but I'm not going to go over by much. I'm just going to get the black put on these eyes. Yes, I will put white dots on, but not today. Nope, I'll say that for another day. I'll contemplate what I want to do with the honey. Whether I want to dry brush the marigold on, which I think is going to be too much yellow. I don't want that. Or I'm going to do honey brown, dry brush honey brown. I haven't decided yet. But that's about it. So just so you can kind of get a visual where we're at. But this is about where we're at. And here's the little label that goes on the jar, and I know that I'm going to, whoops, I need to cut my nails. I'm going to paint that probably buttermilk, so it's light. So that's where we're at right now. That's where we are so far. I might even come back and darken up that honey dipper. I don't know yet. But that's where we are. We're getting there. So I want to thank you, especially to the person that's been here from, oh my gosh, minute one. Thank you. I really appreciate your support. So hopefully you'll come back again if I decide to come on later. I don't know yet. You'll just have to, keep checking my page. But if I do decide to come back on later on, I definitely will get the bear finished. Maybe the honeycomb or beehive. I don't know why I keep calling it honeycomb. But the beehive, get that done. What I am going to do on here is I'm going to paint white. Probably what I should have done is just let it cut out. But I didn't do that. So, but anyhow, like I said, I want to thank you for sticking and staying. You may or may not see me later on today. You may or may not see me tomorrow. I don't know. Just keep checking. I will make an announcement when I am deciding to go live. And if you're following my page and set up to receive notifications, then you will know. So until then, thank you once again. You folks have a nice day. Take care. God bless. Bye-bye.